Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Welcome back. Now we're looking at the central features of organizations. There are three main central features of organization. First is the types of organizational structures. Second is the communication networks. And the third one is organizational assimilation. Let's look at the types of organizational structures. Type of organizational structures are divided into two. The first one is traditional bureaucratic structures and the other one is participatory structures. Let's look at the traditional bureaucratic structures. When you look at the title itself, you can get some ideas when it says traditional bureaucratic structures. It means that the divisions of labor, how work is divided, sounds so traditional. You know, you can imagine going to an organizational where you can see how it is run traditionally, in the sense that you can see there are bosses, there are subordinates, you know, you can see how it works. Unimas is one of the examples of traditional bureaucratic structures where the division of labors are divided into the upper management, top management, the lower management, supporting staff, and so on. Okay, chain of command, lines of authority. In the traditional bureaucratic structures, the chain of command is the lines of authority, meaning that you have layers of authorities to go through. Can you imagine Unimas? Yeah, as students, if you want to have something, you have to go through the course coordinator, for instance, or maybe then you can go to the deputy dean, maybe to the deans, and later on can pass on to the top management, for instance. We have layers of authorities. And in the traditional bureaucratic structures, usually it's the downward communication, meaning that superiors initiate messages to subordinates. Orders are given from the top management to the lower management. So these are the traditional bureaucratic structures. A lot of organizations are like this, particularly in Malaysia, for instance. You can see in the police stations or even for hospitals, you know, they have the way the organization is structured is through traditional bureaucratic. Yeah. Whereas the second type of organizational structure is the participatory structures. What does it mean by participatory structures? Participatory structures is the value individuals' goals and needs and feelings while pursuing organizational objectives. In participatory structures, it encourages participations of members through quality cycles, autonomous work groups, and alternative work groups, meaning that this is the reverse of traditional, where traditional you see authorities, lines of authorities, you see orders being given, but in participatory everyone is participating, everyone not saying that they are the boss, but they know their roles and they play their roles well. At the end of the day, they achieve the goals of the organizations. Everyone is free what to do, but that freedom doesn't mean that they don't achieve the goals. They work together, they work freely, they don't have specific desks or tables or office. They can be anywhere, maybe they can work from home, but working from home also, I mean that they still contribute to the organizations, or even they have their own building. They don't divide themselves into small cubicles for each other, saying that you are the clerk, for instance, and then with someone with the room is the manager, for instance. I mean, they are free to work in that building. Okay, another feature, that is the first feature of organization. Another feature of organization, is the communication networks. But it means that in our previous slides, we see in organization they have structures. Here in organization also they must have communication networks. In when we say communication networks, it's divided into two, which are formal communication and informal communications. If you read the notes, you can understand, literally you can understand where the formal communication networks follow prescribed channels of communication. I mean, it's the formal way to get information, it's the formal way to share information, it's the formal way to give informations. Yeah, whereas the informal communication networks emerges from the natural social interaction among organization members. For instance, in our case, yeah, for our course, for instance, the formal media that we use now is e-lips, but at the same time you can still communicate with me through WhatsApp groups, or through emails. That's how even emails also can sound as formal communication networks, because when we understand about the communication networks, whether it's the formal communication or informal communication, there are different styles or different skills that we can use. For formal information, for formal communication, you communicate formally, whereas in the informal communication you communicate informally, but yet that that information can be that information is useful in the organization. Let's look at the formal communication flow. Yeah, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom up. Yeah, upward communication and downward communication. This is so formal. Yeah, you even in our country, I mean even in UNIMAS, you cannot simply call your lecturer by the name. You must look at the affiliation, meaning that whether that person is a doctor or a professor. You have to greet them using their own title. Yeah, using their title. That is the formal setting or the formal uh, communication. All right. Another central features of organization is organization assimilation. When we talk about organization assimilation, it means that how people in that organization take and fully understand the information or ideas in the organization. Okay, basically it's about organizational culture, because every organization is it's like organization is also like people. Everyone is unique. Every organization also is unique. Every organizational has its own culture, and how people in that organizations assimilate with the culture. For instance, our foreigner friends, right? When they come to Malaysia, it's how they assimilate to the culture, how they assimilate to the system. So that in any organization, people have to assimilate themselves. People have to be in that system so that they feel they belong, so that they can contribute to that organization. And when we talk about organizational assimilation, it's about whether you get it's about how you assimilate yourself. Yeah, you get the information, you be in the system through or from formal sources or from informal sources. Okay, it's when you read the notes, it's self-explanatory, meaning that how you assimilate is from formal sources, means that information can come from within or outside the organizational, include internal and external. You get the information uh, formally through internal or external sources. Whereas informal sources is informations from informal sources, which include a conversation with colleagues at lunch or some friends. Yeah, to know, for instance, if you are new in Unimas, how do you know about Unimas? Maybe the first thing you do is you read a web page or website, a Unimas website, you to know to get information, and that is the formal source. Informal source, maybe you text your friends, your seniors, asking how is it in Unimas, things like that. So point is, when we are in any organization, what we want to do is we want to assimilate ourselves, so that we think that we belong to the system, we belong to the organization, and we can contribute to the organization.